I'll be right back. I'm going to put it on a game for you so you can watch. I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to be doing some more a game now. Okay, this is a game in Corolla, 1902. White invites trouble by neglecting his development, weakening his position in order to grab a pawn. The trouble arrives soon after. White is Madison versus Frank J. Marshall. So Frank J. Marshall is actually black and Madison is white. He's the one that did the London system, the Madison attack. So Queen C4. So he's doing the English here. E5. Knight C3. And then F5. E4. More positionally would be actually to play G3. The text can only help the king bishop pawn getting traded. Knight to F6. D3. Knight C6. Offering the pawn to gain time for development. Pawn takes pawn. Bishop B5. or before. Bishop d2, castles. G4 to hold the pawn. Consider enough if he is to hold the pawn, but white's game is already beginning to wobble. d5. Pawn takes is actually a mistake here. This is a bad mistaken move. White is heading for a catastrophic. This move here should have actually been played. h3 should have been tried. It holds his position together, but he didn't play that. He played this move. Takes. Bishop takes knight. Oops. Bishop takes, and then queen takes the pawn. Now the rook's being pinned. We're being attacked. Queen f6. Queen c5, or queen f3, queen c5, that's what I mean. Knight to e2. Knight to b5 or b4. He says that regain the pawn in the event of if he actually played rook c1. If he plays bishop takes knight, leaving white with nothing to show for his ruined position. This position, right? This pawn's bad, this pawn's bad with check, and we regain the pawn because the king has to move, and then you actually can play queen takes if you wanted to, and then you're threatening here and you're threatening there, and he can't defend both. His position's teetering on the edge of destruction. Knight takes with this move, which has been in the air for some time. White's position is smashed up and ready to be basically done away with. Queen takes knight. Knight takes pawn check. King d2. Bishop takes the pawn. Bishop b4. Bishop takes check, queen takes, knight takes. He says if he takes here, this does tame down the fight, but with extra material, black would win easily. He wants to come in. Nothing left now but forced moves. Check. Rook B check. Sorry, I had the wrong mouse click on my part there. Alright. We've been on perfect 13. I think we can go over one more game, and then we'll do puzzles. This is Hanover, 1902, the Albin Counter Gambit. At this tournament, I met my old friend W.E. Nipper. He was born in England, but has spent most of his life in the United States. As a young man, he competed with C.S. Howell and W.A. Fox, and himself. He had spent abroad by his parents to study music, but he preferred chess, and so he played in quite a few European tournaments. At one time, he was champion of Great Britain. He is still active today, playing a fine game of chess, and writes usually well on the subject as well. This is actually back in 1902. So I would say he's not alive right now, but this is an older book, but it's Frank Marshall's chess games, and this is a little bit of what Frank J. Marshall was talking about. These are the players that he faced and people that he knew. It's interesting to read the history of somebody, even though they passed on to be with the Lord. Because you know what? Absent the body, present with the Lord. Alright. Okay. Marshall's white and W.E. Nipper is black. Marshall did D4, D5, C4. He's doing the Queen's Gambit, and then King E5, Albin counter Gambit. Queen takes. Pawn D5. Knight F3. Knight C6. Queen knight to D2, BD2. Bishop to E6. And then B3. Oops, not that. Oops, did I do the... Okay. Oops, sorry. Wrong ones. King G3, that's right. And then King G6. Too slow. The basic idea of the gambit is rapid development with view of counterplay. Hence, the following continuations are actually much better. Queen to D7 is actually a better idea. And then if knight or knight here, king there, or something to do with the queen coming out to E7, and then castles is the quicker development idea. With black sheds aggression in order to regain the pawn. He usually comes off second best in that line. So he didn't do that. He kind of went passive. You can't do passivity on a gambit. A good idea. He surrenders the queen pawn, which is of no great value, in return for trying to get the D pawn, who's actually the pawn that is affecting his position and cramping it. So bishop takes pawn. Queen knight takes. Knight takes. Knight takes. And then bishop to D5. Not king bishop takes, which is a mistake because of rook a check and you lose a piece. So you don't want to do that. That's why he retreated his bishop back. Queen to A4 check. Pawn C6. E4. Bishop to E6. knight takes e6, pawn takes e6. And castles by white. Now you can actually take the pawn. Black has regained the pawn, but he is behind in development, and he is burdened with a bad weakness in the isolated king pawn. Queen to knight 3. He takes scope on queen to king 2. Bishop to rook 3. King to b2, only way to hold. Bishop to king. Now we're trying to infiltrate in this way, or that way. Knight to f6. Pawn to f4, and that attacks the bishop. Bishop c7. And then f5, and this is to just crunch open the center. This smashing advance wins a pawn, establishes a powerful passed king pawn, which will eventually carry the day and open up the king side bishop file for the pass pressure. Black is able to prolong his resistance quite a bit. However, by placing his bishop on king e4 is very useful defender, since so you have to remember to kind of, if you could, get it right there. So king to knight, king to g2, bishop takes, boom. Bishop to e5, rook b2, king rook to queen 1. Okay, let me see. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. do it. Let's get back. All right. King rook to d8, and then the a d8. King to rook 1, so he's trying to get his king safe. The possible h6 is good, but queen to c2 is pretty strong, and possibly then you have a pretty tremendous of an attack sliding over and then coming up, and we go. So king h8, bishop to g5 to pin the knight to the queen. Queen to c5. Bishop takes. The knight check. Bishop takes. And the rook's pinned, so if you're thinking about taking, can't do it. Into knight 2. Bishop to g7. Queen takes b7. Queen c4. Queen to knight 3, and this is bishop takes check, and then the bishops of opposite color can't save black. The position is too much against him, so we got him. Rook to actually queen knight. What am I missing? I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. 31. Let me go back to move 28 and see if my position. Let's see, looks like there's yeah, this actually is winning here. Okay. a problem here. I might have missed a move. Let me see. My counter gambit's good so far. Good so far. This is it right here. There we go. Now we got the right moves. Where am I at? Alright. Perfect. Okay. Boom. Now we got some really good stuff. Queen rook coming in. Pawn there. Queen. As that double exclam. Exclam. And he resigned here. There's no way to stop mate 2. No way to stop mate 2. Because if he comes back here, you've always got play that. And there's your mate. And if he comes here, you've always got check mate there. So it's all over but the crying. And let's see what do we got. What do we got here? Let's just make sure the connection's good. Hold on. Just want to see how the connection's doing and what the lag time is. That's a pretty big lag. Oh boy, wow, that's bad lag. Sorry about that. So let's get on to our stuff now. We're just gonna take a look to see how the time's doing. All right. Let's see. So 3, 2, 0, 4, 4, 1. Okay. White to mate 2. White to mate and 2. Oops, I enlarged this. Boom. White to mate and 2. I'll give you a minute to think about it and put in a line. Okay. B1 check. A takes queen, and then rook takes B1 mate. Good job, team. knight to mate in 2. I will give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll work on it. Boy, this is an interesting one, to say the least. Okay. If you said knight e6 check, rotate c6, and then knight c7, you were right. Congratulations on finding that. That was a tough one, but I knew you could do it. Alright. Knight to mate and 2. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll go over it. And you can put in the text if you like, and that'll be good too. Okay. If you said knight g6 check, pawn takes g6, and then queen h6, you were right. Congratulations on that. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll go over it together. Okay. So let's see, what do we got here? If you said rook h8, Bishop takes h8 and queen takes h8. You were right. Congratulations on solving that. You're doing great, team. Keep up the good work. Yep. White to mate and 2. I will give you a minute to think about it, and then we will go right into it. Okay, let us do it now. Okay, dokie. Let's see, so white to move and mate and 2. Rook takes, knight takes, and then queen slides in. If you found that move, congratulations. Nice work. I'll give you 1 minute to think about it, and then we will solve it. Oops, I forgot to put the king in there. Sorry about that. Okay. The move is rook check, bishop takes, and then queen to f8. If you solve that, Congratulations on that. That's a tough one. You have to be okay with sacrificing material to win. And if you did that, congrats. Because that takes a lot of courage, a lot of heart to be able to sacrifice material like that. It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. It's not for the faint of heart. Let's send them up. Send them up. There we go. Send them on the board. So white to might and 2 just for you. Alright. Rook takes, king takes, and then hello, mate. Congratulations if you saw that. That also is a lot of patience and determination that you would sacrifice a rook for a pawn, but to get checkmate, sometimes you have to be brave. You have to do what most will dream of doing to acquire something. There's a phrase on that. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but yeah, basically you have to do a lot of different things. You have to be able to. Our Levon has a really good one. He says that if you don't risk, you can't enjoy champagne, or you can't drink champagne. So I was thinking, I know I don't drink champagnes, but I'm just saying that that phrase is an interesting one. That what he's trying to say is, if you don't risk, how are you going to get that? You know, when you cross the finish line, and you know what, we won't go strive for that extra mile, and you won't be like the, go and do it, rev those engines up, and then when it's ready, you put the pedal to the metal, or the throttle down, or whatever, and you go. I want to be like that. I know you, my chest crunchers, want to be like that too. So you gotta sometimes risk to actually get reward. If you don't, then you're not living in chess. You're playing not to lose, and that's a sure way of getting a lot of draws. And then the king. Boom. Okay. Okay, white to mate in 2. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll head straight on in. Yeah, this was a tough one. Because the tempting move to look at is this here. If bishop takes, then you really don't have anything. So that doesn't fly. So you have to reconsider and think, if you were thinking that. What's even better? Knight g5. Now you're threatening mate, and there's nothing you can do if he goes g8. If he moves g8, you have mate. If he takes, then you have mate on f8. And if you guys saw that, congratulations. That's to the nth level if you've seen that one. You saw that one. Nice. We're gonna have a good time. Yes, we are. We're doing great. We're working it. We're having a good time, and we're improving. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. Yep. Let's do it to it. White to mate in 2. White to mate in 2. Come on, you could do this. Giving you a minute, and then we're gonna solve it together. Oh yeah. And by the way, there's 2 checkmates here, so you have to be able to solve it. But risk. The key is to risk. The key is to risk. Okay. The first move we actually play, surprisingly, is rook to e8 check. I know that sounds that's like what? If he takes, you get check. If he takes here, you get checkmate, or you get checkmate. So you have actually there's 3 different checks. Sorry, I should have said there's 3 different checks. Alright, so we have 2 more after this one, and then we get to start into our end game. The theory of 2 weaknesses. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be so great to be able to watch it, go over that. I'm excited. I'm like a kid at a candy factory or a candy store. Alrighty, let's do it to it. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then we'll go right into it. Doing great. Alright. Surprisingly, queen g6 is the move. Pawn takes, and then rook to g7 is forcing its mate. Alright, one more. And then it is time for our endgame. Endgame. Can you say endgame? Yes, you can. Yes. I know you're like, you're so happy. Why are you so happy about endgame? Endgame's so much fun. It's one of the sections that's most neglected, but I think it's the most fun. There's white. Let's give him 2 bishops for black. Black gets 2 bishops, and then 2 rooks. Oh yeah. 2 rooks. Yeah. 2 rooks. Oh yeah. Let's see here. Perfect. 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 So it's still good. Good. And good. Alrighty. This is the last one. So I gotta make sure I have it all. Yep. Gotta mark our next section. I'll give you a minute to think about it while I erase this. Put this over here. Get the Jeremy Silman book ready to rock and roll. Okay. I'll wait for you for one more minute. When it reaches 9:08, then we'll do it. Alright, let's do it to it. So white to mate 2. Okay. Ah. Bang. There we go. If you saw that, congratulations. That's a tough one. Now we're going to be going into Jeremy Silman's Endgame course. The Theory of Two Weaknesses. We're going to set up the puzzle, and then we will talk about it. Make sure I got that. Yep. Yep. Oh, I missed the bishop. Got that. Got that. That. Perfect. to move. Okay. In the middle game, it's quite common to see a player saddle his opponent with as many weaknesses as possible. In general, it is hard to tear down defensive positions if there is only one weakness to attack. However, two or more weaknesses is an unfavorable advantage, and those can be weak squares, weak pawns, weak material, weak squares, weak pawns, material disadvantage, or anything that causes a problem for your opponent. Often spread the defenders enough to allow a breakthrough to occur. Here is a nice middle game example that basically spills over into the middle game. Middle game that spills over into the end game. Sorry, I said that a little dyslexic there. Sorry about that. If I said it backwards. Okay, we have to. This is our new section. We have to make it a study. It's called the theory of two weaknesses. Oh, the principle of two weaknesses. Principles of two weaknesses. Alright. White is clearly better thanks to his passed d5 pawn, his passed pawn, which he can push to d6 at will. The losing of black's king position, however, the passed pawn won't win the game without another weakness. We will need to strengthen stretch black's defenders to breaking point. We need to stretch black's defenders to their breaking point. And one way to do that is to create a new weakness. A4 is actually an idea that will involve A5, and then if he takes, then we can actually take, and then another weakness is created. Intending to go A6, which would allow A takes B, weakening the B6 pawn and the B5 pawn. In some lines, the A pawn might even march to A6, wherewith a knight could actually go to A5, followed by targeting the A7 pawn. A5 was actually played by his opponent, which is actually not an interesting move, it's a dubious move. Too panicky. Now white has a strong passed B6 pawn. Actually, now white has a strong passed pawn and a weakness of A6 to target an attack, and a juicy B5 square to live on forever. More than enough to win the game. So queen b5, queen c7, and then d5. He played d6 here, exclam. This is what Jeremy Silman said, that potentially if he wanted to hold, he could play here. What was actually played in the game was queen d8, and lost. He lost really badly after knight d5. If you're thinking queen takes, not so fast, because now you're going to be losing material, and if you come back you just pick that up, and then actually you can't come back, so you'd have to come over here, and then after bishop takes here, now you can implement a rook to the 7th. And then potentially though you have to be careful of this, so the 7th might not actually be a good move. So you just have to always be on guard. He didn't play that, by the way, so he played here. Knight, rook takes, a4, rook a d1, king g7. This actually was played in the game. d7, rook f6, h3, rook to e6, queen c4, rook e7, rook d6, rook a7, queen c3 check, king king to g8, queen f6, rook a, and this actually sets up for an interesting attack here. He played rook a8, queen takes, they're restarting the site, so you just got to give it a second. Just give them a second to reboot or restart. Okay. There we go. Now we're back, and we're back in action. And he actually it takes, takes, rook takes, king f7, rook d1 to d7, moves back with an extra rook, and if he comes up, boom. And there we go, are here. So c6 would be best. Queen takes c6, bishop takes, oops, what? Not d5. Queen takes c6, bishop takes, and d7, which is another exclam setup. Rook f d8, and rook d6 to attack the bishop. Takes d. Okay, d1. Okay, d7. Knight d5. The pin is killing black to no end. The weakness of b6 and the threat of knight to f6, which can be defended by king, but then knight takes b, which would be the end. So king f7 was played. Knight takes. Now king e7. There's several ways to actually kind of win here. If there's f3, there's b3. There's actually a couple different moves. There's b3, there's f3, and rook d. Actually, not that one. This is a way to win as well. Clearly, the creative second weakness target in the enemy camp is far from as he says, from creating. What the problem, the hardest thing to do is to create, he says, a second target or a second weakness in your enemy's camp. Clearly, the creation of a second weakness / target in the enemy camp is far from trivial to accomplish. An untrained eye might consider things. There's this diagram we're going to be working on, and we're going to take a look at it really quick. So we'll set up the theory of two weakness diagram. Just give me a second. This position right here, he says, an untrained eye might consider this fairly balanced. However, white enjoys certain advantages. The decisive tip of that decisively tips the scales in his favor. Here are some. His king is superior placed. He's got the ability to create a passed c-pawn at the right moment. Black's a6 pawn is a target that that can be attacked if the rook is able to infiltrate into the enemy position. So the two problem questions might be addressed. One is whether Black's e pawn is a strength or a weakness, so we're wondering if this pawn here is a strength or a weakness for black. The other is to find a way for white to infiltrate with his rook. So what we first want to do is provoke a weakness, and rook h3 is a wonderful way of creating a weakness. Do a study. I almost forgot to put a study there. Oh, that would not have been good. Got to do the theory of, not the theory, the principles of two weakness. Sorry, I don't know why I say theory. So this right here is a exclam move, because you notice that there's a weakness to a7. This maneuver aims to turn black's kingside pawns into weaknesses. Defending the g and h pawn will force black to concede, which then takes white's the pressure into account of the center, which should be decisive. After all, there's only so much bad news a position can handle. So h6 was played. There's a guy named Mikhail Matal in his famous book, Learn from the Legends, the chess championship at their best. The game he considered, let me see here, he considered that potentially which is g6 here. H takes g, rook takes c, rook a8, rook c6, rook g8, g7, king f6, rook b8, or b7, king c3, check, king g5, rook takes a, rook takes b, rook e6, b4, rook takes check, king g4, rook e6, g5, a6, rook a3, king d4, rook a2, king c4, rook takes, a7, rook a2, rook e7, king h3, he takes, king takes, king b3, a6, king e2, king g3, rook a2, takes a, rook takes a, f3, rook f, king e3, g7, king f4, and then king c2, stopping black's pawn and winning the game. So this is actually part of the game. This is what Jeremy Silverman's saying, that this was actually somewhat of an idea of a game that actually rose. This is what a Jeremy Silverman's analysis. So rook to g3 to attack this pawn. The two weaknesses g6 and g7. Black's under serious pressure, to which there is no complete adequate response. So king f6 was played. g5 isn't a good idea if he was to play g5, because then rook h3, low in so this is high in strength. This is like totally ownage. The only way to hold on to the pawn would be to move the king, and then when that happens you actually can win. And if he plays here, you can just move your your rook. So king f, that's why king f was played. King d5, he gave way. Now we can go after this rook and start infiltrating. White's vast superiority is now strikingly clear. White's king has complete domination, while black's e-pawn has been labeled a weakness, as a weakness. So rook to e6, rook f3 check, king e8, and now we play g6 exclam. I know you're thinking, wait, how can that be an exclam? Well, now what target does black have to do? Black has no targets to infiltrate into, and if he can't get anything going. A common, don't hurry. The Rubinstein's move I discussed in the cat and mouse section. A player shouldn't hesitate to make quiet fixing moves if your opponent is helpless. Place a pawn on g3 to get a pawn off the second rank in case black's rook makes its way to d6 and then tries to infiltrate in. So g6 was played. Rook e3. King f6. c4. Now the c pawn finally becomes a passed monster. Black's position has as if it's by magic become helpless. So it takes and then takes. Rook e8. Rook f3 check. King g5. Hoping to gain some counterplay by attacking white's king pawns. Up the board they go! Hooray! Wee-haw! H. King g4. Rook f4. King takes. Rook takes e4. Rook a8. If you're thinking that taking saves the day, it doesn't save the day at all. There's no way to stop this monster from being created. And if rook a d8, then king c6, and we just come over and we're going to be winning material. If rook c6, there we go. And be no panic. Has no panic in either. So this is like sweet as can be. c6, g5, h takes, c7, king f3, and rook to e1. White will win black's rook for the c and give up his own rook for the g, and finally have a meal on. So basically what will happen is we'll place the, let me see here, if he pushes this, then we come over here. If he pushes, and then he pushes here, we play our rook over here. When you come here, the king comes over. He queens, we take, he takes, and then this is actually what would happen. We gobble there and win. And this was the move here that I'm going to put a only move, because that's where the game stopped. But I wanted to show you what he was talking about, Jeremy Silman, about the whole sequence of moves. Let's see here. Hold on. Okay. I think we have enough time for one more. We'll do one more. If the server will allow us to, so if it's not too laggy. But you're kind of learning though how he showed us the cat and mouse setup. Now he was teaching us the principle of two weaknesses. This is a game that Jeremy Silman played, so now we're gonna get to hear it, as I like to say, from the horse's mouth. That's an old phrase. So, really old phrase. There's the king right here. So there. Yep. White to move. White to move. White has an annoying edge. Aside from his superior king-pawn structure, king's pawn structure, both his rook and knight are more active than the other black counterparts. The main target is b6, pawn b6. Excuse me. But before laying siege to it, white fixes black with kingside pawn weaknesses. G6, G4, which is a oops, I gotta do that. Drat. Forgot to make it a study. That's a pain in the drain. That fixes the weaknesses. That fixes these weaknesses here, and these weaknesses. Because if he plays here, we can actually take, and then knight takes, so we've won a pawn. So this indirectly fixes it. A huge move. Now f6, h5 are no longer termed additions list. They're bad on the. If you want to think of it as a doctor's list, something that's not good for a person, this is not good for black's pawn structure. It's horrible. This makes it so that F5 is impossible, and then H5 is impossible. Well, I guess H5 is possible. So black plays H5. He says black can't wait for white to play rook C6 and then allow the king and the B pawn to be basically eaten. So we just take king H6, king H4, F5 check, king H4, F4, trading off one of his potential weak pawns makes good sense. Rook C8, but what he doesn't understand is we're coming in. Takes, and then takes rook D5, trying to win that pawn. Rook H8, check, king G, rook A8 to go after the knight. King knight C3, rook A7, threatening to now play takes here, prepare that. So rook E5. The idea is if he tries anything else like this to try to hold, this actually would win on the spot because of a pin. So he has to hold. Knight F4, or F3, knight F3, rook E4, not rook takes here, because if he had taken G5 and the F7 can't be defended, this F7 pawn can't be defended, and it's going to be over. So king G5. He did take, he took, and that was a mistake. He's got to pay for that for a long time. H6 check, king G8, H7 check, king takes, rook takes check, king F8, or G8, sorry. Both sides now have two pawns left, so one might expect black to have a real chance to survive. However, his king is in severe trouble, and by mixing threats to black's king and pawn, white can eventually pick up B6 and walk away with a one rook endgame. King G6, knight to E4. Black needs to have his knight prepared for the defense. So let me see here. So D5 is not a good move here because of knight G5. E5 loses to and actually knight takes, loses to H when the threat of mate is looming. And even if he tries checking here, and that still loses because the pawn can take. So he can't actually check. So e5, knight knight e6, threatens rook f8 mate. So knight f4 check. Knight takes f4, pawn takes f4, rook takes f4, rook h3, king f5, rook takes, king e6, rook d2, rook f5. With a decisive advantage, white can eventually pick up. Basically, he'll use his rook as a wall to walk over. So, like if the rook went here, we can actually do this. He doesn't want to take, so he'll play something like this, and then what we can do then is eventually, if he plays something like this, we can go after that. Or even better could actually be to have played b5 and then try to go after the pawn via that way. So e4, 94, h4, knight d6, d7, rook takes, king f8, rook takes e, rook g3. As good as resignation, f4 would be as good as resigning because of rook to f. That loses because when we take, he can't stop both pawns. King f5, rook g1, rook takes, and so if he tries h, that loses to king g5. It's not g4. White owns 2 extra pass pawns. At this point, black resigned here. Let's see how we're doing. Ooh, there's a lot of, well, maybe not. Let's let me see. Is this a pretty big one? Well, we'll probably save this one, and what I'll do is I'll look at my inventory to see if I have a game I can go over. Here, I'll take a look to see about my profile, and I'll pick out just a game. Let me see. Let's take a look to see what we got here. Okay, this is a Advanced variation of the French. We'll analyze the board. It was 10 moves, and then it was over. So that'll be a good quick one. I'm black, my opponent's white. And then at this point, he resigned. And so I thought that'd be kind of a little cool. He's lost, actually. There is a way he can hold if he plays like knight. Knight's actually a playable move. But then you have to remember that there's a check. And so then he's got to come back. And now we can grab this pawn and attack along this way. And so it's basically winning. Do you have any questions on any of the things that we talked about? The theory of two weaknesses? Do you have any questions on that? Give me a minute to think about it. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Well, I wanted to thank y'all for logging on. You know what? It's I was gonna start another one, do another one, but then I'm like, that's 12 moves, and I want to do a really good job and go over it with you, my friends, and I want to have a great learning lesson. And if we kind of forced it, then what are you gaining? You're not gaining anything. So sometimes it's better to cut it off, even if it's a little bit early, than to do one that you wouldn't be happy you'd want to share with somebody. That you want to do quality over quantity. But what we have to remember is you can't spend a second twice. You have to decide what do you want to do as a chess player, and you have to implement it. You know what I mean? You have to sometimes give some things up if you want to go the distance. Excuse me. And that's why Bruce Lee says knowing is not enough. You must apply. Willing is not enough. You must do. And you know what? There are no limits to the human potential. There are plateaus. But we must not stay there. We must go beyond the plateaus. We have to also remember to put on our Grandmaster glasses and basically tell the thoughts that say you can't do it, the thoughts that will make us not be what the Lord wants us to be. We need to have that. We need to tell them to go take a back seat to what the Lord has for us to do, which is to be chess players or whatever field that you're in. And never have the thoughts that you can't do it, but how can you do it? Because it goes back to the little engine in Rusty. If you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Either way, you're right. And I like our motto that, don't give up, knuckle down, and get right back up. And remember, treasure your victories and learn from your losses. And remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistakes that define you as a person and as a chess player. Because it's not if you're going to make mistakes, it's when. And how do you handle that? If you're down, you have two pieces, maybe a knight and a bishop versus a bishop and a rook. Are you going to give up, or are you going to hunker down, knuckle down, and get back up? Every long journey begins with one small step. That's what Yasser Seirawan's saying. And Bruce Lee said he didn't fear the person who practiced 10,000 individual kicks. He feared the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times. So if we can practice our end game and we make it solid as a rock, then you know what? We will be unbeatable at over the board. Nobody can stand against you if the Lord's with you, as it is written. And I'm thinking that I don't really think there's anything else that I want to say, but I want to say one thing. That, of course, don't let things, outside things, affect truly what the Lord wants you to be. If you want to become a grandmaster and go for it, you need to put in the time. There's going to be things that happen. There's going to be stuff like that come up, like would you play this thing with me? You gotta sometimes say, I'm a chess cruncher, and kind of say no to the desire that you want to do. Do you want to actually, what do you want to become? Do you want the grandmaster title, or do you want to do the other thing? It's kind of a hard thing to say, is that you got to choose. And like on Indiana Jones, choose wisely. But like the 1, the 2, and the 5. I want to be the 5, the one that took his 5 and used his talents to honor the Lord of the manor. And I know you do too. So, like when most are playing and doing other stuff, and you're sitting down and studying, they're coming over and they're saying, what you doing? I'm a chess cruncher. What's a chess cruncher? A chess cruncher hangs up their coat, they hang up their hat, they sit down and study when most won't. A chess cruncher does. That makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says for the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless. I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening. And Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward. And you know what? Going on in the principles of 2 weaknesses, we're going to learn and keep honing that down till we get it. Great job, Team Chess Cruncher. Hoorah, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Lord be with you, and remember, always make him the center, the Lord Jesus. Bye-bye, and I'll see you tomorrow.